Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Food Literacy with me, Chef Giovanni, Chef d'Amour, Break Bread Not Hearts, and we're just gonna stay focused moving forward, but also remembering things we spoke of in the past few weeks. Obviously with love being the main ingredient in everything that we do, maintaining that mindfulness, meaning you're just knowing your place in the world, the beauty of your existence, and the love that comes from that once we are able to follow our vision. Our vision being the equivalent of the sun, us having the light, the sight to know what in our heart is right, and then following that up with movement. We're mindful of where we are, we have a vision of where we want to go, and then it's figuring out how to create that movement, as you see here, like the infinity symbol, in order to achieve what we want, in a culinary sense, or anything you dream of in life. So you see here, I got an assortment of ingredients today. I got some broccoli, some beets. Oh man, I have some mushrooms here, some shiitake mushrooms. There is some garlic, always essential in everything. Some garlic, bit of tomato, I have some fresh parsley, some scallion, some green garlic. So essentially, this is the young version of garlic that before it matures, as you see here, looks just like a leek or a scallion somewhat, but when it matures, it forms this bulb on the bottom that we know as garlic. So this would essentially take the place of this once it matured, but if you pick it early, this is what you get, and it still has a lot of medicinal benefits and just flavor and different ways you can cook with it. One ingredient in two different forms means you can take the simple resources that you have in life and finesse it to have multiple outcomes, because it's like we said last week, it's all about doing what you can with what you have. I also have a little bit of frozen corn here. So there's some frozen corn. The seed provides the pathway to go from the roots to the fruits, essentially what you harvest from a plant. Not all plants produce fruit per se, but they do produce either fruits or other mechanisms that allow them to reproduce, pollen and other things that goes from one plant to another plant. That way they're able to reproduce and spread. But the seed is the initial point from that pathway from roots to fruits. So, we use our past as a tool to propel us forward. As we said, we got to remember where we are coming from in order to know where we are going. So I got my corn here, medium heat. I got this pot here. I'm gonna add some beets into this pot. Beets are an amazing food that is great for cleansing our systems, keeping our livers functioning properly. Our liver, we always think of our heart, our brain being two of the essential things that we need for survival, but your liver is equally, if not more important as those other two organs, because everything that goes into your body has to get processed. So beets Beets are a great food that helps to promote the health of our liver. Everything that enters our body has to get processed by our liver, whether it's food, air, medicine, literally every substance goes through our liver. And for every time your blood circulates through your heart, it goes through your liver twice. Every time your blood circulates through your heart, it actually goes through your liver twice. So it's like that filtration system, you know? Imagine if you have like a Brita water filter, you know? The filter is your liver, meaning it takes everything that comes in us, gets rid of what we don't need, the waste, and helps our body process all the good things, not the good things and the bad things, but it allows our body to process all that enters our body in order for us to be able to use what we need and discard what we don't need. In order to use what we need and discard what we don't need. So I'm just gonna add in my beets here. Got them in nice big chunks. Like I said, liver is one of our primary, if not most important organs, really, you know. Without the liver functioning properly, our heart and our brain won't be able to access the nutrients and the other resources that it needs to maintain our survival. I'm going to add some of my boiling water to it because I want these to steam. So a bit of water in there to allow it to start steaming. So I got my fire on there. Alright, I got my corn here. From roots to our fruits begins with the seed. You know, we use our past as a tool to propel us forward. You know, we always have to be aware of our potential, hopes, dreams, outlooks, aspirations, and goals to achieve what you want in life. You know, whatever you place your sight upon and your heart upon is able to be manifested in the physical world, you know? So that's why we want to figure out what our vision is. That way we can hone in on like what makes us like happy and makes us feel good, you know? So I have these shiitake mushrooms. So I'm gonna tear off the caps. I'm gonna use the whole thing, but I'm gonna cook the caps separately from the stems. So for example, when a seed is sprouted, its roots are thriving below the earth. The roots are what? A metaphor for our heart and connection to our ancestors, elders, our past, our present. Above ground, the plant is broken through the soil. What does the plant know? It knows that the sun is one of its sources of life and energy for growth. Therefore, what does the plant do? It continually reaches towards the sun, right? The plant is always trying to reach towards the sun. It sees the light. It knows that that energy is what provides it with life. So the plant is always reaching towards the sun. It has its vision set on the sun. So the same way you set your vision on whatever your goals are, you're always going to find ways to keep pushing and striving and reaching towards your sun, aka towards your vision, So I put a little bit of oil in this pot, and I'm just going to put in my mushrooms in my pot there. So those are just going to take time and saute in that frying pan in the back there. Also going to add some broccoli. So I'm actually going to leave the broccoli whole in florets. There's also the reality that, you know, we all are faced with different obstacles, different challenges, different sets of adversity that, affect us all differently. That affect us all differently. So I'm just drizzling a little bit of olive oil, or a little grapeseed oil rather, on this broccoli. Just a bit. Sprinkling some salt. Alright. And a splash of vinegar. Vinegar adds some acidity to it. It'll also maintain that the broccoli keeps its nice bright green color and doesn't become gray or dull. So I'm just gonna toss this together. Make sure everything's coated with the salt, oil, and vinegar. And for me personally, I love the flavor of the salt and vinegar anything. Salt and vinegar potato chips are definitely one of my guilty pleasures. That flavor of something being salty and acidic. Something about it. It always tastes really good. So I have my broccoli here going into my oven. Like I said, I had my oven at 400 degrees, and I'm just gonna let that broccoli stay there and cook. So I got my beets steaming in the back here. What I'm gonna do is also add some salt to that water. Keeping my eye on my vision of this meal, which is all about essentially, detoxing and overcoming the things that can stand in our way on our individual and collective path to success. So as you see here, I'm taking those mushroom stems, slicing them up real finely. Because as I said, you start with mindfulness, knowing your place in the world, and then you jump into your vision, realizing your vision as a plant realizes the sun and tries to grow ever closer to the sun. So as we were saying before, it is all about the next step of movement. How do we get that movement to take place, You got your mindfulness in place. You figure out your vision, or many visions, because we can have many visions. It's not exclusive to just one thing in life that you have to set your hopes or dreams upon. There's a bunch of things that we all want for ourselves, and they're all connected in some way, But sometimes in life, what we need to get rid of is just as important as what we need to bring into our life, right? So for example, imagine I have a bucket and I'm going to a well every day. I'm going to a well every day to fill up my bucket with water. I need that water for drinking, cooking food, and other essential uses, right? So I make sure I bring my bucket. My bucket is nice and clean to get whatever the water is I need for the day. But one day I decide to go to the well, but I bring my bucket and my bucket is already full. What's the first thing I have to do? I have to empty out the bucket. I can't get more fresh water if the bucket already has water within it. There's no space to take on anything new. There's no space to take on anything new. But sometimes we don't need to get more things in order to accomplish more. We just need to sort of get rid of some things, sort of shed some dead weight, so to speak, or just get rid of the things that either don't serve us as much of a benefit anymore, or that can hinder our progress. That can hinder our progress. So you see I have the corn and the mushrooms there. The mushroom caps in this frying pan. My mushroom caps in this frying pan. No one's situation may be ideal, but you should try your best. You should try your best. You should try your best. So you see in the back there, I have my shiitake mushroom caps. Here in the front, the corn with the shiitake mushroom stems. My beets that are steaming there. You see that bright red color representing our blood, our life force, our liver. Now we all know that there are things in our lives that can hold us back, that are obstacles, that present us with challenges, as our movement is directed towards what? Our vision, right? Our vision. How do we properly cope with those things that cause potential stress and adverse situations that come our way, Adverse meaning situation that opposes or is hostile or turbulent towards our well-being. We face all kinds of things that are adverse in our lifestyles every day, and we all deal with them in different ways. Even if two people are faced with the same situation, we are going to react in different ways. If you're on an airplane, there may be turbulence on the ride. It may be shaky for a moment, but 99% of the time, or even more than that, that plane is going to land safely, even though it hits that little rough patch in the air. Imagine you are on a ferry or a boat and the water's rough. You may experience being seasick, while others on the same vessel, the same ship, will not experience that seasickness or any adversity at all, So faced with the same situations, we all react differently to those situations. So I threw some grapeseed oil into my pot there, dropping in my green garlic. All right. So I got my green garlic going there. Remember, I got my broccoli in the oven roasting. Swing the vision to the corn with the shiitake mushroom stems. The shiitake mushroom stems in the back there. The beets here steaming away. You even see there's a little bit of a red hue on those garlic, the green garlic I cut up because of the beets. It's amazing, And even if you you see the green hue on that green garlic there, So like I was saying, I could be on a ferry, get seasick from a rough ride, and someone else on the same ferry could be absolutely all right. We're faced with the same experience, but faced with the same situation, but our experience or reaction to it can be night and day in terms of our reaction. So I say that to say because it's important, because we have to know all of our experiences are different. And even when faced with similar experiences or situations, we all react and respond in different ways. Like I said before, we all react and respond in different ways, And we have to be mindful of our differences in viewing the world and know that we are all mindfully taking different journeys on the path to manifest our vision, our individual vision, which ties into our collective vision. So I'm throwing these tomatoes into here, into my green garlic. Remember though, that my movement is connected to yours. Yours to your neighbors to the strangers, the stranger to everything on the spectrum, from safety to danger, from top to bottom, left to right. We're all tied in this together. They say that there's 6 degrees. They say that there are 6 degrees of separation. That means there are only 5 people that it takes to connect you and I. So I know one person, that person knows someone else, a second person, that second person knows a third, that third knows a fourth, that fourth knows a fifth, and that fifth person knows you. So there's only 5 people in between us in terms of us actually realizing we're connected, we're in a community, we have similar acquaintances, friends, etc. And I believe it's even smaller than that. It's even smaller than that. You can travel around the world. I've literally traveled to different continents and ran into people that grew up in the same town as me. Which is just crazy, just the timing, of all the times you could say be on vacation or somewhere and you meet someone that literally lives, the same town or 20 minutes from you, and you just happen to be at the same place in a different country or continent. It's amazing, but it's definitely not any coincidence. It's not random. Like I was saying before, we are all connected. We are all connected. My vision is connected to yours, yours to your neighbors to the strangers, everything on that spectrum from safety to danger, top to bottom, left to right, night to day. So we've got to fight and find a way to make sure we know that we have to maintain our connectedness. We have to maintain our connectedness. So as I'm doing here, I'm mincing up this parsley to add into my corn. So my beets actually should be done. I'm gonna check it real quick. Poke it with a knife, and yes. So you'll see here. See if I can grab out a little piece for you to see. Finagle with the knife. There we go. So you see my beets. They call it nature's candy because once you steam them or cook them, they become super sweet and delicious, but high in iron and so many nutrients. So I'm gonna turn off my fire on my beets. So how can we individually and collectively get rid of, or at the very least reduce the power of the obstacles, the difficult circumstances, and unfavorable adverse conditions that can potentially blind and paralyze us, meaning stop our vision or block our vision, and paralyze us, meaning stopping our movement. We want to keep our movement and our vision intact to the best of our ability. There's many things we could do, but at the basis of it, it's communicating with each other. Like I said, we all have individual dreams and goals and desires we want to attain, but my vision is connected to yours, yours to your neighbors to the strangers, the stranger to everything on the spectrum from safety to danger, top to bottom, left to right, day to night. So we gotta fight to find a way to make it right for us all to come together. Add in my parsley to my corn now. So you see, and I mentioned before, you always want to make sure, what we eat is healthy and delicious. But if you're unsure, if you don't want to get into the technical details of vitamins, nutrients, minerals, etc., the simplest way to think about it is just colors. The more color you have in your food, the more life force you have in it. The more life force. We want to maintain that what we are eating has the things we need to maintain a healthy well-being. So now I'm throwing in my mushroom caps into my corn there. If you want to say, run a marathon or enter some type of physical competition, you may have to like lose some weight per se in order to compete and participate, especially in like certain sports, say as like martial arts, you know, such as taekwondo, karate, or boxing. Certain sports where your competitors are presented to you based on like weight class, you know. So it's like everyone is in. So if you're over a certain weight class and you want to compete in the weight class below you, you gotta, you know, shed a couple of pounds or kilograms in order to meet your goal to compete in the division that you want to compete in, you know? So you got to put in that hard work, as I said before with everything else, that time, that dedication in order to get what you want in life. So beet greens are the equivalent of spinach, but with just like a way more amazing flavor. So if you love spinach, you know, if you buy beets, at the top of the beetroot, attached to it are these beet greens, which these leaves have the same flavor as spinach, or even stronger, I think. I love it. I love it. And since, you know, they're part of the beet, we were saying the beet before is a great food to detox and get rid of what our body doesn't need. Because our body goes through a basic process called metabolism, right? So metabolism is essentially the sum of all the biochemical reactions that take place in the body. In the body, in our cells. So everything that we put in, our body gets processed. It gets sent to where it needs to be. What doesn't need to be there, our cells and our tissues discard those items. And our body functions like a well-oiled machine. Our body functions like a well-oiled machine, you know? So I added in my beet greens that I slice up thinly to my corn and my mushroom mixture. So you see here, my tomato, my green garlic, my beet greens, mushroom stems, mushroom caps, corn. Like I said, colors, 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 colors. So now I'm going to take the stems from the beet greens and slice those up thinly, because it's all food. It's all part of the plant. We always want to make sure we use the whole part of anything as much as we can, you know. Stems of the beet greens that I added right into the pot right here. So you see that extra bright red color. That is just, you know, it's light, colors, colors, colors. You know, for example, if a cow gets slaughtered somewhere in the world, you know, many cultures will try to use every single piece of it. Nothing is going to go to waste. The meat, the skin, like everything, a purpose will be found for. A purpose will be found for everything, you know? So it's the same thing with our bodies. Our bodies want the right kinds of fuel, and it does its best to utilize everything that we give it, to metabolize everything that comes into our body, meaning taking what we put in, creating different compounds and molecules to fuel ourselves and build ourselves up, and then also breaking down other things in order to, you know, make it smaller so it can get where it needs to be in our body, and also breaking down the waste so our body can get rid of it. So there are, you know, anabolic. So metabolism occurs in two ways. It's either anabolic or catabolic. Anabolic means it synthesizes, it's building together. Catabolic means that it's degradative, meaning it is breaking down. It is breaking down. Our bodies are always in an anabolic or catabolic state. and our cells and our tissues, depending on what functions our body needs to carry out at any given moment, you know? So essentially, that catabolic reaction is what allows us to process the foods we eat into the nutrients our body takes and sends it where it needs to go. So I'm adding the red onion I diced up into my tomato here. So step one essentially is like digestion in our gastrointestinal tract, which essentially starts at our mouth. As soon as our gastrointestinal tract is not just our intestines, but it is from our mouth out to our rectum, from our mouth to our rectum. So that entire pathway is where food moves through our mouth, down our esophagus, to our stomach, our small intestine, our large intestine, and then it comes out of our rectum on the other end as waste, once our body grabs everything that it needs from the foods that we eat. Once it grabs everything it needs from the foods that we eat. So digestion starts in the mouth. As soon as your saliva hits food, it starts to digest it and break it down. There's certain enzymes in our mouth that particularly break down like the carbohydrates. Once food gets to our stomach has hydrochloric acid that helps to break down the proteins that we eat into amino acids. So it's a catabolic reaction. It breaks down the protein molecules from like plants or meats. All foods are made of protein, have protein in them. Our stomach breaks down the proteins into amino acids. Amino acids are the building blocks of proteins. And then once our food hits our small intestine, that is when bile is also secreted, which helps to break down the fats into simpler fatty acids and lipids. Lipids is another term for fats that our body is able to send where it needs in order to do what it needs to do to maintain metabolism, to keep us healthy. So step one is digestion. The nutrients are absorbed and transported in our blood to our cells and our tissues. Step two, once the nutrients reach our tissues, they either react in an anabolic way where they build up to create new compounds. So like amino acids could go to one part of our body where we may need growth of our muscles, and it will create proteins to help build our muscles. Or on the opposite side of things, when our food is being digested and broken down in a catabolic reaction, it's breaking down complex sugars into glucose and simple sugars. It's breaking down the protein into amino acids, so into smaller compounds, in order for it to reach the various parts of our body that we need to maintain a healthy metabolism and health. And then within our cells, there is an organelle, which an organelle just means a structure inside of a cell. Essentially, the organs within a cell, the things that keep everything functioning. You have the nucleus, the mitochondria, many other organelles or structures within our cells. So the mitochondria is what produces the energy within our cells. So our foods are broken down to create what is called ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate, which is essentially what powers all of our cells to do everything that we need to do. So all of our cells need ATP, and that is created through the breakdown of the foods we eat and that we digest, And that gets all transported through what? Through our blood. Grab my crayons here. So we have a, just being a red blood cell. So red blood cells are biconcave, meaning there's like an indentation on the bottom and on the top. That's just the shape of them. They're not round, they're biconcave. So they float through our bloodstream, red blood cell. Lifespan of a red blood cell is about 100 to 120 days. Meaning every 3 to 4 months, every cell that is in your body, every red blood cell that is in your body will be gone, and there will be all new cells. 8% of our body weight our blood is 8% of our body weight. 8% of our body weight. Now I find it like interesting because 8 is also similar to like the infinity sign right here, you know, never ending, always continuing, perpetually, you know, existing, and 8 turned on its side. So it's interesting that, you know, our red blood cells have that biconcave shape, which is similar to the infinity sign and is also similar to an 8 as if it was turned on its side. Coincidence? Maybe, maybe not. Say that to say every 100 to 120 days, our blood cells, our red blood cells, are regenerated. Meaning, whatever person we were 3 to 4 months ago, there's a whole new set of cells within us. So we always have that opportunity to do better, to do what we can, to improve. If you get knocked down 9 times, like, I want you to stand up 10. You know, we always have the ability to bounce back no matter what our circumstances are. It's, you know, definitely difficult at certain times more than others, and we all face different experiences. And like I said, we could face the same experience and have 2 different outcomes on how we react to it. But there's always the potential and the hope that we will always overcome. You know, it may not be tomorrow, it may not be the day after that, but eventually, through that hard work and determination of maintaining mindfulness, maintaining our vision, to focus our movement, we can get to where we need to go, you know? And think about it. 3 months from now, 4 months from now, you're going to be an entirely new person. Because we can always start over and try our best, you know? So maintaining our mindfulness, our vision, to keep our movement going, you know, circulating. Because that's what blood does. It circulates. It moves oxygen and carbon dioxide throughout our body. That's what our red blood cells do. Transports oxygen and CO2. Heart, lungs, brain, liver, everything. Circulation, the infinity, ever going. We get rid of what we don't need in order to make space for what is new and what we do need. Can't forget my garlic, even if it's the last thing I do. Garlic, beets, the mushrooms, the green garlic, the onions, the scallion, all of these being great foods, tools, and resources that we can use to detox ourselves. Like I said, we do the best we can with what we have, but we also get rid of what we don't need, shed the excess weight or the things that no longer serve us, or try to navigate around the obstacles that are in our way in order to move forward. So you see here the finished product of the love that we created. Tomato, green garlic, beet green stems with a bit more garlic and red onion, and you see just the red color from the tomato and those beet green stems that just transform the color of this dish. The mushrooms with the corn, the beet greens, the mushroom stems, broccoli that we just roasted in the oven. You see, it's just threw a little salt, oil and vinegar, and then also our beets that we steamed. So like I said, this is a great dish you could have with like rice or anything else you think of, but also just mixing it all together in one component and having it as a salad. And it's amazing. Like I said, the tool and the goal is to detox, to keep ourselves flowing properly with, you know what I mean, the love, starting from our mindfulness, our vision, like a plant reaching towards the sun. You know, you're always striving towards what you want, growing towards that goal or multiple goals. Your movement, just like the infinity symbol. It may be tough, but there's no way we can stop. We have to keep persevering, endurance. We have to keep working towards what we want, be the change that we want to see, manifest and create the things that we want in life, you know? Just like our blood cells, we have to allow our dreams to circulate within ourselves and within the world around us. And like I said before, you know, a red blood cell lives 100 to 120 days. So 3 to 4 months now, you're essentially an entirely new person. So who do you want to be in 3 to 4 months, you know? Or where can we be? Or what goals can we set for ourselves? Or what things can we achieve, you know? So, as I said before, if you get knocked down 9 times, you should try to stand up 10 and maintain that love always is the main ingredient in everything you do in life. So thank y'all again. Chef Giovanni, Chef D'Amore, Break Bread Not Hearts. Remember, it's all about cooking up community. Even if it's not cooking in the literal sense of food, we have to find ways to move together as a unit, as a collective, to make sure our communities are strong, that we look out for one another, that we are our brothers and our sisters' keepers, you know? So I thank y'all, and I look forward to building with you all further next week. Peace. Remember, if we get knocked down 9 times, we stand up 10.